Peace, y'all. Greetings and welcome to another episode of Divine Intervention Show. In this episode, we're diving deep into the roots of insecurity and how it silently shapes our relationships. I'll be breaking down where insecurities come from, how they show up in self sabotage, projection, and misreading others' intentions. Also, why, if left unchecked, they lead to relational dysregulation and ruptures. If you yourself have ever wondered why people push others away, overanalyze, or unintentionally sabotage connections, this conversation reveals the deeper pattern. It's about bringing self awareness and responsibility to the forefront. What's happening inside of us, not just the other person. With that being said, my name is Empress Nicole of Nicole.com, Divine Intervention Show and Podcast, The Love Experience, Ethereal Wellness, and Sankofa's Naturals. With that being said, I'm super excited to be here with y'all this evening, and I'm super excited to bring this teaching towards you guys, and I hope that you enjoy it. Don't forget to subscribe to our podcast and our YouTube channel, Empress Nicole, um, and Divine Intervention Show on every streaming platform. With that being said, thank you, and let's get into it. Um, Now, as y'all know, insecurities don't begin as personal traits, they begin as adaptations. They form where a human nervous system learns, often early, that safety, acceptance, or belonging is conditional. Somewhere along the line, the body absorbs a message: something about me is not enough, too much, unsafe, or unstable in relationships with others. That message doesn't remain cognitive, it becomes somatic, it becomes a background state. Insecurity forms when a person repeatedly experiences a misattunement, not being seen accurately, not being responded to consistently, or being punished for natural needs, being punished for the bare minimum, being punished for things that are natural. Okay? So over time, our nervous systems learn to anticipate threats and connections. It begins scanning for signs of rejection, abandonment, comparison, or loss of control. This is scanning. You know what I'm saying? The scanning is like, it's not conscious, it's automatic. And once it's in place, it shapes how humans relate long before we can understand why. Okay? In this area is where many people misunderstand insecurity. They believe that insecurity is about low self esteem or a lack of confidence. In reality, insecurity is about unreliable safety. It is about not trusting that connection will hold without constant management. The insecure nervous system believes connections must be earned, monitored, controlled, or protected at all times. From this place, insecurity begins to express itself through behavior, not as honesty, but as strategic. I don't know if you ever heard somebody say, I'm strategic when it comes to everything. I'm strategic, I'm strategic, I'm strategic. Right? Because there may be some place in their life where they weren't made to feel safe. So they had to figure things out and like, you know what, this is, if I do this and I do that, then it's gonna go like this. And when it doesn't go like that, they're just in disarray. Right? So that's a possibility, right? Because it's not everybody's reality. So I want to make sure so I'm clear with that. Excuse me. Some people externalize insecurity through over comparison. And something you'll often hear me say is that comparison is a theft of joy. And something I also say a lot is you cannot compete where you can't compare. Not saying that others are not good at what they do, not saying that others can't be amazing. It's just that if this is not a lane that the divine has created for you, you will never be in this alignment that that other person is in. Point blank period. No matter what you do, no matter how much you try, you will never get the feelings they get from doing it. You will never understand their why. You will never be them. So there's no need to compete anywhere where you don't compare, right? So a lot of people, they become loud or quiet, dominant, controlling, or performative. They fill space not because they feel powerful, but because silence feels dangerous. Stillness feels like disappearance. If they are not asserting themselves, they fear they will be overlooked or replaced. It's so many people like that. Like, even now I'm streaming live on Clubhouse, and my experience on that app is like so many great experiences. But one of my experiences that I have continuously, which made me pull back a lot from interacting, is that people feel like they have to be the main character in every single conversation. And what it does is it blocks conversations from transparency, because that person feels like their point of view has to be debated against yours just because you simply don't agree. And it doesn't allow room for others that may want to dive deeper into what someone is saying to actually share. So it's kind of like a repetitive cycle of bullshit sometimes. You know what I'm saying? So I just wanted to share that little tidbit. You know, um, it's a lot of other people. They express insecurity through withdrawal. And I can be transparent and say that I think the way that I don't know if I feel insecure about anything, but I often isolate. So I'm sure that people are like, you know what, she isolating because blah, 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 blah. And that's fine and then because they're free to think whatever they want to think, but I know there's safety in isolation for me. Right. So I'm sure that a lot of people find safety um or express their insecurity through withdrawal because they find safety there. They pull back, shut down, disengage, or ghost, right? This is not indifference, and I'm definitely not justifying anyone doing any of these things to anyone, because to me it's childish. And I feel like people should get the help that they need so they can be able to communicate and be a nice person or a fair person, right? Um, it is a protective strategy, right? If a connection feels like exposure, like if someone feels like you're exposing them, and for who they are, truly, like you can see through them, they'll run, they'll disengage, they'll go, and then they'll blame it on you when you decide to not re-engage with them, right? Um, because if the connection feels like exposure, again, distance can feel like control. Withdrawal becomes the only way the nervous system knows how to stay intact. Okay, so insecurity shows up in so many different ways. It's no one way that insecurity can show up. And one way that insecurity does show up often is hypervigilance. Reading into tone, over analyzing text messages, assuming intent without confirmation is one of the biggest flaws when it comes to a dysresolution and relationship. No matter the tier of a relationship, no matter the tier of the connection, when you assume someone's intent without confirmation, without asking them what their intent was, that is not your intuition. That is your insecurities. And something I've been teaching for many, many moons now, excuse me, is that trust your intuition and not your insecurities. A lot of people trust their insecurities and they ignore their intuition, and they ruin relationships this way through self-sabotage. Okay? Because when you are assuming intent without confirmation, um It is a threat detection, right? The nervous system is trying to predict harm before it happens. And unfortunately, prediction often becomes an accusation to someone else, right? And it's not saying that your accusation aren't spot on, that you're not right, but most of the time when you're trusting your insecurities, you're making an ass out of yourself. Okay. And this is where insecurity turns into projection. Oh, you're probably doing this and you're probably doing that because are you doing it? Right? And if you're not doing it, who did it to you to make you feel like that I'm doing it? Right? And this is what we mean by stopping to breathe before responding, stopping to breathe before sending a message, stopping to breathe before sharing a thought, and really thinking on it, and not to a point where you're just like, in a self-sabotaging way. Oh, it's just me. It's just me. I'm just thinking these things. And whole time it's really true. It's really factual. No one is ever saying to not express yourself, because this is where you raise the cortisol levels in the body. This is where disease turns into. Okay. Um, Now, when a person cannot tolerate the discomfort of their own internal state, fear, envy, shame, inadequacy, the nervous system looks for an external cause, right? The mind supplies a story, and the other human becomes the explanation. You are changing. You don't care. You think you're better. You're trying to hurt me, right? And what is actually happening is an internal dysregulation being misattributed as an external threat. And okay, I'm gonna break that down. So say for instance, if you have a person and you're like, okay, I don't want to do this anymore. I feel like you're just always trying to hurt me. You're always doing this. You're changing, your energy changes. And it's not to say again, it's not to say that someone's energy cannot change. It's not to say that someone's energy doesn't change. It's not to say that someone is mistreating you. It's to say that without confirmation of someone saying this is what I did, and please keep in mind, most people won't admit, especially if you're dealing with someone that's immature and not mature. But let's use a mature person for this scenario. And they say, baby, I'm not switching up on you. I apologize. I just been overwhelmed lately. I just been tired. I'm not cheating on you. I really just need rest. And I promise to, once I get some rest, we'll talk about it and I'll try to make it better for you, baby. But please don't feel insecure. Please don't feel like I'm doing something. And please don't accuse me of anything, because it just makes me feel like I'm not doing what I need to do in this relationship when I am. Right. And then if I can do anything more to help you not feel this way, please let me know. But there's things that you're going to have to work on within yourself in order for you to not receive or perceive me this way. We're talking about an honest person, an honest partner, right? We're not speaking on low vibrational people who are doing these things. When you address them and they just brush you off, they just ghost, and because they're guilty and they're avoidant, and the society just use these labels to justify people's shitty behavior. Right. We're not talking about those. We're talking about an honest person who you may be accusing or projecting onto. And this is not the intention that they have. This is not how they're stepping into this relationship. This is not how they want to be perceived by you. Okay. So keep that in mind, because projection feels like clarity because certainty is calming. It organizes internal chaos, but it also collapses relationships because the other person is no longer being met as they are. They are being met as a symbol of unresolved internal pain. Insecurity also drives self-sabotage, right? We just spoke on that, okay? So when a nervous system expects loss, it often initiates it. Picking fights, creating distance, testing loyalty, withholding affection. These behaviors are not about destruction, they are about control. If the ending is inevitable, the insecure system wants to decide how it ends and how it happens. Sabotage feels safer than waiting. And I had someone sabotage a connection that I had no intention on ending. I had no intention of ending anything with them. I was just fed up. I just wanted reassurance. I just wanted to know that I wasn't wasting my time, that they wasn't wasting their time, that we were moving forward and it was going to start progressing. And what I got was the short end of the stick. What I got was betrayal. What I got was control. I didn't get respect. I didn't get amendments. I didn't get reciprocity. So I definitely understand from a point of view of someone assuming what I wanted, someone assuming my behavior and not even confirming what it was. Just because a person is fed up does not mean they don't love you anymore. Just because a person is tired doesn't mean they don't have the strength to go on with you and still repair a relationship, right? But some people are so damaged that they feel like they got to control everything, so they got to control, and they hurt people and they damage people without confirmation. Just their own insecurities and their own assumptions that they make, and they destroy people and they destroy relationships time and time again. Okay? Because sabotage feels safer than waiting on the end. Right? This is a tragedy, right? Because the tragedy is that insecurity often destroys the very thing it fears losing. Period. It often destroys it. I remember going through a period feeling like I destroyed everything. I'm like, how did I destroy everything? By simply expressing myself. By simply just saying what I needed, what I wanted, because I feel like I was given that, but I wasn't getting it back. Right? And I'm not a person to sit around and just keep on taking nothing. Like I'm not her. But when you love somebody, it's like, you know what, maybe they're going through something. Maybe maybe I don't know. But when you're not communicating and you're just assuming intentions and going off of your own projections and pain, or you're just playing mind games and you're just out there to hurt people, like I said, the tragedy is that insecurity often destroys the very thing you fear losing, right? So, unfortunately, as insecurity continues unchecked, relationships become dysregulated environments. Trust erodes, communication breaks down, ruptures increase, and instead of recognizing insecurity as the source, humans often double down on blame, certainty, or withdrawal. The cycle repeats itself, right? And it's never about placing blame. Someone expressing themselves and how you make them feel is not blaming you for anything. It's letting them know, like, look, I'm watching you. I'm aware. This is what you're doing to me. If you love me, please stop. Please stop doing this to me. And a lot of people can't handle that because in their mind, they're giving you everything, even if it's breadcrumbs, the little bird that you give to the birds. And most of them don't even give you that. They give you nothing. They just show up, and they think just because they show up because you love them that you're just supposed to sit there with nothingness. It's absurd. It's absurd to say the least, right? Because ruptures increase, right? And it's completely imperative to name this clearly. Insecurity is not a flaw, but it's a responsibility. No one chooses how their nervous system learned to survive, right? Yet adults are responsible for how their survival strategy impacts other people. And yes, we're going to get into this conversation. I told y'all it was coming. Um, Intention versus impact, and it's going to be a big one, okay? Because I'm gearing y'all up for this conversation because it's going to be a big one because too many people are out here, especially in the spiritual community, conscious community, and they're supposed to be woke and they're supposed to be better and they're supposed to be wanting better. And they constantly do stuff to hurt people. And they say, oh, it wasn't my intentions, and then walk away like that was nothing. Oh, just because your intentions was not to hurt me, you clearly hurt me. You clearly destroyed someone. You clearly changed their perception on how they see love and partnership. And all you can say is, it wasn't my intention. All you can do is point the finger and blame, right? So dysregulation in relationships does not usually come from malice. Not usually. It comes from an unexamined insecurity operating beneath awareness. When insecurity is not named, it becomes behavior. When behavior is not examined, it becomes what? It becomes rupture, okay? And that's a fact. Because when it comes to human relationships, right, human relationships become sustainable only when people learn to pause before projection, right? To regulate before accusation, and to distinguish sensation from a story. This requires what? It requires discomfort. It requires self contact. It requires the willingness to ask, what is happening inside of me right now, before asking, what is wrong with you? Right? And I can admit I've made this mistake of asking or saying what someone did to me and not sitting with my feelings long enough. Because sometimes you just feel like a volcano sometimes. It's like, especially when you're not nagging all the time, you're just going with the flow, but you know that your needs are not being met. And you know that they know. It almost feels like they're playing in your face, like they're intentionally trying to hurt you. And it just comes out. It comes out wrong. It comes out dysfunctional. It comes out chaotic, even if you're not a chaotic person. And unfortunately, toxic people they will never tell people about how they treated you. They only tell people about your reaction to how they treated you. Right. And even though they're insecure and they do, the most egregious things to people, they only speak on how you reacted to their egregious behavior, how you reacted to their egregious mindsets, how you reacted to their self sabotage, and how it impacted you. You know, they don't want to speak on how it impacted you. They're just speaking on how you reacted to how they treated you. But they never tell people how they actually treat you. This is the things they said to me. This is the things they said to me after all this time. Instead of telling people, oh no, I wasn't texting back. I wasn't calling. I wasn't pouring into the relationship. I was cheating. I was talking to other people. I was laying in bed with other people. I was living a double life. I was doing this and I was doing that. They would never say that, right? So that's why it's a difference between a person who is alchemizing and healing themselves constantly and recognizing and accountable for the things that they've done wrong. Well, not even wrong. I don't like using the word wrong. The things they've done to impact someone else in a very low vibrational way and trying to make amends for it. One thing I told myself this year is that I will not be the person anymore that runs back to heal situations where I was hurt. I can't do it anymore. And it's not out of pride and ego. And maybe it is a part of me maybe it is a part of me that's my pride and ego. But I feel like for far too often I've been left with the responsibility to hold relationships up. I no longer have the capacity to do that. If someone wants to be with me, they're gonna have to show me. If someone wants to be my friend, they're gonna have to show me the friendship. Because I no longer have the capacity to hold things up. I no longer have the capacity to excuse people's toxicity. No longer have the capacity to take my time, energy, and space and share it with people who don't respect, love me, and care about me. Absolutely not. Period. Right? Um, Human relationships become stable only when people learn to pause before projection. Okay. And all of that, insecurity does not end relationships by itself. What resolutes what resolutes relationships? For some reason I can't say that word. I apologize. Is the refusal to take accountability for how insecurity moves through the body and into behavior, right? And if I ever walked away from someone, it's because I felt like someone wasn't taking responsibility. I feel like someone was being narcissistic. Someone was putting all the blame on me. Someone wasn't responding. Someone wasn't communicating. Someone didn't respect me. And once I feel like you don't respect me, I'm out. That's it for me. I'm not begging you. I'm not pleading. I'm not crying. I'm not doing anything. I'm just leaving. Right? So the same way that they ghosted me or mistreated me, they're going to feel that. They might not feel it right away. But eventually, when they sit down with their thoughts and their feelings and they realize that, damn, this person ain't been nothing but good to me, they're definitely going to feel it in their chest. Right? And it's going to be a burning sensation they can never get rid of because I know what I bring to a relationship. I know how I operate. And when you know who you are, when these things happen, it does hurt. It does cause pain. It does make you feel maybe like you're not good enough, especially when you really love someone and genuinely cared about them or have feelings for them. It makes you question, was it even real or were they just playing games with me just because they're a hurt individual, just because they're unhealed? One time I even considered, was it a bet or something? Like what was it? What was it? Because how could you I wrote a whole song and it's called Ghosted, and it goes, how can you go from present to basically giving me a memory like this, right? And it talks about the twin flame journey. And it's like, how could you do this to me? And it's like, I gave you access to my time, my space. Now I'm staring at a phone with your name erased. You know what I'm saying? It goes through the whole entire journey of a dysresolution of something that was unique, something that was God said, something that the divine aligned, and someone just like either they were not doing what they need to do or whatever. Because like if I assume I couldn't assume, so I wrote music. I wrote music about it because I didn't want to assume without confirmation. And I knew that this person would never give me confirmation because their ego is way too big for that. Their pride is way too big to admit anything that they were wrong, to apologize, to make anything better. So I knew the best thing for me to do is transmute that energy. So again, if we want, well, if we desire healthier human relationships, we don't start with better communication. We start with better self regulation, self honesty, and accountability for our own personal states. This right here in this moment is where the repair begins. Ashe. I'm going to let y'all listen to like one lyric on my song Ghosted that I just told y'all about. And you can hear it. You can hear it in my voice. And then we're going to get out of here. Hold on.
You said you felt me in your bar, said I was different. Late night conversations, you were so consistent. Mirrors in your eyes, I saw a future in it. Then the silence hit me out of nowhere instant. Read receipts talking louder than your voice. Left me standing here alone without a choice. I replay the moments, wonder what I missed. How you go from present to a memory like this. I gave you access to my time, my space. Now I'm staring at a phone with your name erased. If honesty was real, you had stayed. But you vanished in the middle of the flames. I got ghosted.
Okay, guys. So with that being said, thank you so much for coming out to Divine Intervention Show and podcast streaming live via Clubhouse, Facebook, and this is going right up to my YouTube and right on our Spotify. And from Spotify, it's going to be on every streaming network within the next 20 minutes. So go ahead, listen to it, and let me know what y'all think. Drop some comments wherever you listening from. Let me know what you think. Let me know, how have you ever experienced this? Are you going through this now? And what are you doing to become a better person while you're going through this or while you're healing from this? All right, peace, y'all. Stay woke and make sure you stay blessed and hit up renanicole.com/podcast-media. With that being said, peace, y'all, and take care.